Hello everyone, thank you so much for coming back to my channel. It's Joanna. These are going to be your messages for the month of December 2018. I'm going to make this very quick because I myself don't like long intros. Please remember that these are general messages. My intent is to give you something to think about, something to look at from a different perspective in order to help you gain clarity and ultimately that you can become a more empowered you. So rather than focusing on predictions, I am focusing on what may come up for you in the month of December and how some of these situations will allow you to see certain things and perhaps to create certain things for yourself that you have not been able to before. So I always intend on giving you as much information as I can in order to help you evolve. And how you take that information and how you apply it, or if you even consider it, that is entirely up to you. What I would encourage you to do is to listen to it at the end of the month, because these messages are really limitless or timeless. There is really the principles that I ask to give can be applied to really any sign in any situation. So it is important for you to listen with an open heart and an open mind and see how it can help you. Of course, listening to the other signs may offer you more guidance, and above all, don't take anything that I say as gospel. Listen with your heart and allow yourself to feel whether it resonates with you or not. Sometimes I will say things that may trigger you. If that happens, it's a good indication that something inside of you is wanting to say something. So I'm just going to leave it as is. Also, if you are interested in a Uranus projections, it's a 7-month projection. That information is down below on the Vimeo page. And let me see if there's anything else. Thank you, of course, always for watching, for sharing, for subscribing, and for private sessions, if that is what you wish. That information is down below. Thank you again so much. Have yourself a wonderful holiday season if you are practicing it or if you are celebrating it. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye. Hello, beautiful Aries. These are going to be your messages for the month of December 2018. I feel like my voice is not loud enough. So for some of you, I want to say, please speak up or speak louder. Either people can't hear you or can't understand you, and there seems to be some confusion. So if you are one of those individuals who is not very expressive with your voice or your verbal communication, you are urged to speak up, okay, or speak louder. All right, let's tune into you. The word that came for me for you was drudgery, and I kind of felt into this word, and I'm feeling it now. And I feel many of you who are listening to this will be, particularly in the month of December and January, looking at something that is cumbersome in your life. The word cumbersome is something I rarely use, so I'm going to look up after what this means. But I feel the word means uncomfortable. That is what I feel. And you either need to be looking at it or you are going to look at it. Perhaps you already are looking at it. And many of you are deciding what to do with it. It feels like a time of contemplation where you are looking perhaps at different options and perhaps different opportunities, and you may be spending time, or you may have been spending time thinking and reconsidering previously thought ideas. Whether this could be work, this could be your situation that you find yourself in, it could be a commitment that you are committed to, it could be anything that is proving itself to be less than practical, good, positively affecting you, whatever that is. You guys know, you'll know exactly what this means if this is meant for you. So that is going to be necessary, particularly because quite a few of you are looking at opening other doors, and this is my shorthand for saying considering other opportunities. Financial seems to be coming strongly first. Relationships, if it's relationships, it's how to go forward with your current relationship. So that may be for some of you. So it is a good time for you to take inventory, particularly being the end of a year, and recognize some things in your life, particularly those that don't serve you anymore, and see if you can find an alternative way to either look at it or to move on from it. For some of you, it's a serious relationship that you are reconsidering. And this could be a romantic relationship. This could be a relationship you have with a friend. This could be clearly a relationship with yourself, but this is external relationship. And you're also at the same time deciding how you're going to do this going forward. So if you are considering a relationship, a serious relationship, and one that isn't working or has not been working for a while, seems like you are choosing, for many of you, to look at some things in that relationship and consider, and you will consider focusing your attentions somewhere else. In other words, you're thinking of moving on. But in order for you to successfully move on from whatever that is, you first need to draw some important conclusions as to why you're here in the first place. And the reason why this is being said, because it is symbolic of having come full circle. In other words, when you understand the reason behind why you are currently here, then you would have learned a very important lesson. And once a lesson has been learned, one generally doesn't have to repeat the same lesson. So if some of you are choosing to move on, whether from work, whatever it may be, something important in your life, it would prove beneficial for you to consider other options, but also to realize what kept you there in the first place, particularly if you've been there for a while and it progressively has not been what you wanted to. When we sit in those situations, when we stay there for a while, it is always because we're getting something from it that we don't recognize. So that is for consideration for some of you. Let me just move on with cards because I feel like I could go on forever. 2 cards that represent your overall energy for December. Magical Map Shifter and Deep Freeze. Okay. So Magical Map Shifter to me symbolizes a little bit of chaotic energy. And the reason for it is that I see it almost a little bit like the Tower moment. However, the Tower moment may feel unexpected and maybe even brutal at times. I feel this feels a little bit softer. So for many of you, you might be considering a change of direction. For some of you, a change of direction will be shown to you, usually through some circumstances. And for those of you who will see this, it is meant to redirect you from your current path. Why? Well, generally because you're supposed to be moving on, and chances are you are clinging to what is familiar. So we keep ourselves kind of stuck. Also, if you have had some plans that you've put on hold for a long time, any ideas that you kind of forgot about, or any any sparks of interest that you've had before but kind of chose to subdue it. This is a good time for those aspects of you to come to life. I feel like many of you, I want to say actually most of you, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's basically everybody. I feel like most of you are going almost through like a tumbler, where like in a drying machine, you know, the clothes tumbles and it doesn't feel great if I'm clothing, but at the end of the day, it comes out dry. So emotionally speaking, I feel you might have some moments of polarity where you feel extreme anger or you feel sadness, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're high. I feel many of you will go through this, partly also because it's, for a lot of you, holidays, celebration, remembering the good old times. So it seems like December might feel a little bit emotional, but considering it is a holiday season, that is, well, it's not unusual. All right, so what are some of the areas that might be triggered for you? In other words, what are some of the things that might be triggered for you? Primal fear comes up as the first message. So when the world shifts around us and we are presented with change of our path, oftentimes this will dig deep into our fears, primarily around safety and security. That's priority number one. So notice if the month of December and maybe even some January, you might get triggered around primal fear. So primal fear would be safety and security above anything else. So few of you will be triggered. Well, and I feel this is mostly financially connected. For some of you, it might be in a relationship. It could also be a situation where somebody says something to you and it triggers something, and it might be like you're in a party and people are joking and somebody makes a comment to you you haven't heard in a long time, and that comment comes from a bad place for you and you get triggered. Triggers are opportunities for us to see what is underneath after all of this that we can see, so that we can gain a better understanding of how we function. So chances are you will experience a situation in the month of December and January where your biggest fears will be triggered. Deep polarity is another message that basically says, what are the ways in which you are polarized? In other words, what are the deep polarities within you? What are the Research what polarity means. I'm trying to feel this message. Where are you at odds with yourself? And I feel, when I say where are you at odds with yourself, it reminds me of being in a position where I'm pulled in two directions. Therefore, many of you will recognize this as being in a place where you really maybe don't want to, but you feel like you have no choice. For some of you, it is wanting to start a brand new career, but somehow you feel you're too old, you don't have the right skills, your partner won't help you, and you are stuck. So that creates this polarity. Enlightenment is a message that basically says, when we go through pain, when we go through difficulties, when we go through challenges, we often experience things we don't like, often about ourselves. Having a view of it gives you a recognition. And at that moment, what's recognized, something can be changed. So oftentimes, we can look at a bad situation and see it from a different angle and recognize perhaps the gift that it is offering us, except we can't see it yet. Because what happens is we begin to see things we had no awareness of, and our perception shifts and changes. Horse is an animal that always to me symbolize freedom. My God actually just said spirit. Okay, freedom and spirit. And this is really what you are after. you notice, I don't know why I feel she's a female, but regardless, you notice there is a moon here on the forehead. So this is the third eye, right? Third eye is all about seeing. It's the psychic vision. It is also rainbow colored. You can't see it on the screen. What this is symbolizing to me is that your ability to create the life you want depends heavily on what you see. Now, when I say what you see, it is the images we create, it is the things we think about, it is the situations we think about, including lack of certain things. So what you project from you will eventually create. So this message to me, and I want to say, Black Horse is also very mysterious. Black Horse to me represents mastery. I feel many of you, thank you, I feel many of you are mastering a lesson in this life, and it's to do with feeling free by expressing yourself authentically. And when we do that, we essentially allow ourselves to be ourselves, because a lot of the time, if not most of the time, at least in the younger years, we try to be somebody else in order to be loved, to belong, to have status, to have success, whatever that is. So notice what are some of the themes in your lives that you keep repeating. You could call it a pattern, particularly one that is not very favorable to you in whatever way. And notice how many of these situations have a commonality around the sense of freedom. If you feel stuck in a certain job, you may feel that you have no other choices or no other options, where there's always options in terms of how you look at it. So a simple shift of perception oftentimes completely takes away the illusion of what we're seeing. Give yourself the permission to feel great. And I actually asked my guide, why am I saying this? And I'm hearing that most of you who hear this are very hard on yourselves. You're very hard on your soul. You beat yourself up over little things, which does nothing other than cultivates a deeper foundation of lack in you. Therefore, please take a look at how you consider yourself. How do you address yourself in your inner voice and on your thoughts? How do you deal with stress? Do you berate yourself, or do you manage your emotions, and for the most part you can stay fairly clear? If you are one of those people who continually wonders, you are most likely at the very base of you feel lack of choices. Okay? So I would invite you to look at some of those things in your life and notice what you can find. It is as if to say, the month of December and January is very apropos to digging up some dirt from our foundation. In other words, it's worth taking the time to look at our foundation to see if there is any cracks in it. Chances are the answer will be, of course there is, because we all have cracks in our foundations. That's why we struggle. Struggle is part of the bigger picture. Struggles help us figure out who we are. It shapes us in various ways. When you allow yourself to be responsible for your happiness, for your own happiness, way less attention will be paid to those outside of you. Brilliant. To me, what this is saying is, the moment you start approving of you, it will be the moment where you will lose the need to be approved by others. And I believe we all do it to some respect, at least at certain points in our lives. It is just part of our human education. But it all depends how that affects us and in what way that we will have the corresponding life or the corresponding experiences. When I asked what areas you will be affected the most, where is it going to hit you, in other words? And when I say hit you, I'm saying it with a smile on my face, because these are meant to be messages that are timeless. So it doesn't mean something bad is happening. Not at all. It's actually quite the opposite. Good thing is happening. You may just not see it. Anyway, the Emperor in reverse came up. So right away, it's telling me that you're not feeling in control. You may not feel in charge at work. You may not feel in charge at home. You actually may not feel in charge of yourself. You may feel like your emotions are all over the place, which would not surprise me considering you have some triggers coming up. You're not feeling very solid and very stable. And Four of Pentacles to me, well, that's stability. This is, for a lot of you, it's going to feel around work. Yes, it can also mean something in your home environment isn't quite right, or you feel like in your home environment you either have no control, or you're not being taken seriously, or you're not being assertive enough, you're not being authoritative enough. For some of you this is fathers, for some of you it's obviously females, but see how this feels for you. It is also in a relationship. You may feel like you are not in charge of your relationship. And I don't mean in control, I mean in charge. But this always stems from not feeling enough inside. That's what I'm being told. That's what I'm being shown. That's where it all stems from. So the moment you begin to feel good about you is the moment when you start turning around and you start being the Emperor once again, which is someone who is in charge of their domain. He's bigger than the king. He has a whole kingdom to take care of. He has to be sure. He has to be strong. And I feel many of you feel like you lack strength. It isn't true. You don't lack it. You have it. You simply are currently denying yourself use of it. And there's various reasons why we do it. Primarily, it's because we're taught to be that way. Also, obviously, security, while we have primal fears, is of utmost importance to human being. I would say that's probably one of the first things on the list, safety and security, right? The reason why I'm saying this is because I feel for a lot of you, it's to do with financial security. And I feel a lot of you are clinging to the known because the unknown is scarier than the discomfort you feel right now. So you kind of keep yourself there. For some of you, this is going to be security in a relationship. And by that, I also mean some form of relationship you have perhaps with a project. Perhaps with a team. It may also be that you are no longer feeling part of the group. The dynamics somehow have changed and shifted and you feel like you're just not one of them. Okay? That can also happen. All indications that you are growing and evolving. Let me just see what else I am feeling. And my throat just got stuck again. So again, for those of you who speak not very clearly or quietly, please don't raise your voice, but please speak up. Also, be mindful what you continually say to yourself. And I just heard, oh, geez, I'm stupid. Seemingly, it's no big deal, right? Like, it's really no big deal. But when you constantly tell yourself, geez, I'm stupid, believe it or not, like anything else, it will become your truth. In other words, you end up believing it. And then you'll do it without even thinking and without even knowing you're doing it. Nonetheless, it still affects you. So watch the words you say to yourself, particularly for those of you who are highly, highly critical of your abilities, your skills, your lack of skills, whatever it is. Very, very important. There is something brewing for many of you. And I hear spring, where new opportunities, again, will be presented to you. For many of you, this will require you to take leap of faith. And for some of you, it will be like a test. I also hear the words final test. Perhaps around spring of next year, you will have final exam or final test, and that will usher new opportunities. There is many exciting things for you. And I am seeing the number 78% of you who are listening, that's a huge number, will relate to this in some way, shape, or form. I also want to say, relax a little more. For some of you, you might need to switch to herbal tea instead. I'm presuming it's maybe, I don't know, Starbucks or maybe coffee. Some of you need to change your drinking habits and drinking patterns. And for some of you, yes, it is the addictive kind. I just feel the next part of next year, first part of next 4-6 months, is going to bring a lot of happiness to you. We're all in transitions. You're no different. I say this in every single sign. But it also, that's why it's important to take an inventory of what you think, how you think, what you say to yourself, because energetically speaking, universally speaking, we are all shifting and changing as we enter into the new vibration. Don't think that's the right word, but that's how I'm going to say it. So we're all shifting and changing in various ways. Therefore, the energies are also much potent in terms of our ability to receive, to create, to manifest. Thank you. So if you are used to putting a lot of attention to what you do wrong, what you are not, what you lack, what's terrible in your life, what you hate, you will bring those energies forward, and based on those energies, you will create, except it's going to be much quicker. So if you take an inventory and notice those things, you will at least begin to be aware. And once you're aware, you have the choice to make a difference by making a different choice, different decision. So that is what I encourage all of you to do. And like I said, it is a great time of year because it is the end of the year. So we're usually looking towards next year and the things we want to accomplish. So with that said, I hope this was helpful. I hope this means something to you at some point, if not now, a little bit later. Always remember, these are meant to apply to as many people as possible. Therefore, this kind of information you can apply pretty much in any situation in your life and see if it fits. At the end of the day, if it can spark a new way of thinking, a new way of believing, if it can spark a shift in how you see things, then that is always my greatest wish for you. For when you begin to see things differently, you can't go back. Okay? And with that said, thank you so much for liking, for sharing, and for listening, and for subscribing. Please comment how this affects you. I would love to read it. I always do. And of course, if you would like a private session with me, that information is down below. Thank you so much once again. I wish you happy holidays whenever you are celebrating. Thank you. And if you're not celebrating, happy holiday season. And with that said, talk to you soon.